We live in a time when mental illness isn't just part of the conversation, it's the conversation. Scroll through social media and you'll see people publicly diagnosing themselves, posting relatable symptom lists, and weaving depression or anxiety into their online persona. There's an odd cultural shift happening where mental health, instead of being a private struggle to overcome, is often worn like a badge of identity. Part of this comes from genuine progress. For decades, mental illness was buried in shame. People suffered in silence, terrified of being judged or dismissed. The destigmatization movement made it okay to talk about anxiety, depression, ADHD, PTSD, and countless other struggles. This was a good thing, necessary even. But somewhere along the way, we crossed a line. What began as a fight for understanding has, in some circles, morphed into a kind of competitive victimhood. The digital age accelerated this shift. Platforms reward personal disclosure with likes, sympathy, and validation. A well-worded post about your latest mental health struggle can get more engagement than anything else you put out. Young people, immersed in this environment, are being socialized to see mental illness not just as something to manage, but as something that makes you more interesting, more authentic, even more morally superior. And when these platforms push the most dramatic, tear-jerking, or extreme content to the top, nuance dies. The reality that mental illness is complex, ugly, and often deeply isolating gets replaced by aestheticized depression, pastel ADHD infographics, and TikTok videos turning panic attacks into bite-sized entertainment. The algorithm doesn't care about accuracy, it cares about retention. And nothing retains like an exaggerated self-diagnosis or a shocking personal confession. Then there's the medical side. Diagnostic criteria have broadened. Behaviors and moods once considered within the range of human experience are increasingly pathologized. Being sad after a breakup, restless in class, or socially awkward at a party, these used to be seen as part of life. Now they're potential symptoms that feed an endless cycle of therapy trends, self-help hacks, and wellness products. Mental illness has, in some ways, become a market. This isn't to say the suffering isn't real. It is. Rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide are rising. But the way we frame mental health culturally is blurring the line between acknowledging real struggles and romanticizing them. And when we romanticize, we risk encouraging people to stay in those identities instead of working toward recovery. We've reached a point where young people sometimes fear losing their sense of belonging if they get better, because their entire online presence is built around being sick. The conversation about mental health should be about healing, resilience, and finding strength. But too often, it's become about collecting diagnoses like merit badges and curating a broken persona for public consumption. If we want to move forward, we need to reclaim the original purpose of mental health: compassion without performance, awareness without self-exploitation, and support without glamorization. Because mental illness is not a brand, it's not an aesthetic, and it's not a personality trait. It's a challenge to be met with honesty, grit, and a desire to actually get better. And that, in the end, should be the real conversation.